Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. Now today something a little different on this channel. Today we're going to ride and review this 2020 Lexmoto Assault 125 EFi. Yes, a fuel injected version of the Lexmoto Assault. Now the gentleman that owns this has asked me if I could take it down for its MOT test today, which I'm glad to do. It gives me the chance to ride something different. So let's take this Lexmoto out for a ride and see how well it does. Well, so here we are on the Lexmoto Assault 125cc. This is the 2020 model. It's fuel injected. Now there's not many miles on this clock. About 10 miles this bike's actually got, even though it's 4 years old. That's quite incredible. So I can't actually go very fast in it. It's still in its running in period, even though it's 4 years old. A gentleman purchased this and he put it inside his motorhome, in the garage part of his motorhome, as a sort of an emergency measure if he got to a campsite or wherever that didn't have a shop and there was miles away from shops. He could park up his motorhome and then take this down to the local shops, you know, buy some bread and some milk or whatever. But it looks like that never happened, as this bike has only got 10 miles on the clock, so he never used it much at all. But nice little commuter bike, really. Chinese, of course. Chinese motorcycles used to have a bit of a bad reputation 20 years ago. Some people would have said that they were made out of cheese because, you know, the metal was just so bad. It was just so brittle, so thin. Instead of steel, it was tin, and it would rust really, really bad. But today's Chinese motorcycles are a lot better. They've improved immensely over the past 20 years. I mean, look at this. It has digital speedo. It also has a fuel gauge. I don't actually know how accurate the fuel gauge is, but at least it does have a fuel gauge. Not like my Harley Davidson, or of course my BMW as well, my R850R. That doesn't have a fuel gauge neither, so but yes, nice little commuter bike this, with its supermoto sort of styling, its trial bike styling. Not really a trial bike though. The suspension is not long enough. There's not long enough travel in the front forks, even though it does have some nice knobbly tyres on. But there's no bash plate protecting the exhaust. I guess you could possibly fit one. We'll take a closer look at that when we stop somewhere. Now, I have been enlisted today to take this bike for its MOT. That's why I'm riding it. I said I'd take it out for a spin, put on the old GoPro. Another video for the channel. Plus it's nice to get out on different bikes and ride them, see what they're like. Alright, the fuel gauge is actually, I don't know if you can see this on the display there, but it's flashing at me, so hopefully I can get to a fuel station to get some petrol. There's a local supermarket a couple of miles up here. Hopefully we can make it. But at the moment of me filming this, you can actually purchase one of these brand new for around £2,000. In fact, I've seen dealers discounting them down to 1,850, and really, that's a bargain, a real bargain. Yes, okay, it's a Chinese-made motorcycle, but if you want to just learn the fundamentals of, you know, motorcycle riding and owning a motorcycle, then absolutely ideal. You can buy a Honda CB125, cost you around £4,000, so double the price of this. Of course, if you want to buy a 125 and keep it for several years, then you'd buy the Honda. But if you want to buy a bike just to learn the fundamentals of riding a motorcycle and passing your test on your motorcycle test, then one of these is absolutely ideal, I think. I think it's got around 10.5 horsepower, so it's well within the is it 14.7 horsepower limit that we have here for learners. I mean, it's ideal for a 17-year-old. Buy one of these and commute. So, like I said, this bike, well, it's got 14 miles on the clock now, this bike has, and it's 4 years old. That's incredible. It's very strange to me that people buy things like this and they never use them, but I guess it was just bought as an emergency, but everything on here feels so tight. It feels like a brand new machine. Around 9 Newton meters of torque, I believe. Now, once I've taken this bike for its MOT, we'll stop somewhere and we'll take a closer look at it in more detail. It does look a really nice bike for commuting on, actually. Now, Lexmoto actually say that this bike is good for 100 miles to the gallon, which, wow, if that's true, that's excellent. But then it is only a 125cc bike. The sun's come out, that's great. When I first came out, I thought it was going to start raining. All these clouds about, but the sun is now shining, so that's brilliant. Now, many years ago, I used to own a Honda XL100, and this is very similar to that. In fact, looking at this engine on this bike, it does remind me of an old Honda from the early 1980s. I should say it's possibly a copy that Lexmoto have taken. Lots of Chinese manufacturers seem to copy the old sort of stuff from the big four Japanese motorcycles. But yeah, it really is a lovely motorcycle to learn to ride on. And for the price that it is at the minute, bargain. It does seem to be a real bargain, you know. You can't sort of call it a cheap motorcycle anymore. As in, you know, cheap as in made cheaply. The switchgear and that looks possibly a bit plasticky, but then every other thing looks plasticky these days, doesn't it? Quick look over my shoulder there, just in case. A very, very easy motorcycle to ride, this one. We'll just pop in here and get some fuel. So neutral, difficult to find there. Brilliant stuff. So it does have a centre stand and a side stand. Right. Okay. A 15-litre fuel tank, I believe, on one of these. So can we put £10 in, do you think? Got £9 and £9.23. That looks about it. I don't want to put any more in. I'll have a receipt so I can give it to him to say I got some petrol for his bike. That's brilliant. So here we're at Asda's petrol station, and it's £1.28.7 a litre. For all you that are watching this video at some other point, 2 or 3 years time, when you're thinking, wow, that was cheap. The way that fuel's going up these days. Right. Okay, so switch it on, put it on to run. I think you have to pull the clutch lever in, I'm not sure, but and there we are. Great stuff. Right, so one thing about going to that fuel station was there's diesel on the floor, and it's made my boots slippery. Okay, so this MOT place is around here somewhere. I've never been to this one. Okay, so welcome back. We're on our way back from the MOT testing station now, and you'll be pleased to know that the old bike, I call it an old bike, this bike has passed its MOT. No advisories, I didn't think there would be. Really low mileage for a 4-year-old machine, like I was saying at the start. This bike has been sat inside a motorhome for the past 4 years, being unused, so it's like riding a brand new machine, this is. 30 mile an hour down here, let's take it easy. So I just want to find somewhere to stop, and we'll do a quick review of the bike, a quick look at it, and just stand back and look at some of the features on the machine. Now there's a lane just up here which I often use for taking bikes down and reviewing them. Hopefully there'll be nobody there today, and hopefully it's not going to rain as well. I don't like the look of those clouds up there, but we'll see how we get on, shall we? So there you have it. This is, of course, a 2020 Lexmoto Assault EFi 125. Now, I'm 5'9". My feet touch the floor. Nice easy reach. Very nice light motorcycle as well. Really does make an ideal commuter and an ideal learner motorcycle as well. And as I was saying as I was riding around, at this moment of filming this in 2024, Lexmoto is selling this for £1,850, which is a bargain really, isn't it? Considering that a Honda CB125 will cost you nearly £4,000. So to buy one of these does really represent excellent value for money. And if you just want to use it for commuting and learning the basics of motorcycling and then passing your test along the way, what an excellent machine to do that. Because as soon as you pass your test, you can get rid of it and buy yourself a bigger Japanese bike. So let's take a closer look at this machine. I like the off-road styling, this sort of trials bike look. Although one of the things that does concern me about the bike is the exhaust. There's no bash plate on the exhaust. And in the trials bikes from Honda and Yamaha and whatever, their exhausts always curve round here and go across this way. So if you do take it off-road, you're not going to bash that exhaust pipe. So I'm thinking if you do want to take this bike off-road, then get yourself a bash plate on there. I'm sure somebody somewhere must make an aftermarket one of those. But anyway, let's take a closer look at the bike. Okay, so let's take a look at this engine. So it does actually look like an old Honda CB125 engine, possibly from the early 1980s. Which it could be a very good Chinese copy, of course. The Chinese like copying things like this. And this is a nice touch. It does have a kickstarter and electric start as well. I do like these indicators that are in with the fairing there. They're not stuck out the sides. That's very neat, that is. Knobbly tyres, of course, on the front. Semi-knobblies on the back. We've also got disc brakes on the back. And a single disc on the front as well. We'll just take a quick look at that. Two-pot calipers, I think they are. It's got both a centre stand and a side stand as well. Rear indicators in there. Now, looks a nice looking machine with its off-road styling, but it's not an off-road bike, it's not a trials bike, it's not a supermoto or anything like that. It's just a rugged commuter, you could say. It's ideal for green laning, but I'm not too sure it'll be any good for going around these fields on. The suspension travel not long enough. This rear suspension is rather hard, but it is adjustable. You can see the rear disc reservoir there. Let's take a look at the controls up here. You've got the kill switch, electric start there. On this side for the lights, high and low beam, indicators, horn. And round this side, hazard warning light. That's pretty trick on a bike like this. And of course you've got a rev counter, a digital speedometer, and also a digital fuel gauge. Now, I mention this lots of times with bikes that I do review. It's nice to see a fuel gauge in this day and age. I know lots of people say, oh, you don't need them, just set your trip meter every time you fill up, but I prefer to have a fuel gauge. Way back in 1985 I actually bought a Kawasaki GPZ 600R, and that had a fuel gauge way back then, so why doesn't every bike have them today? So there we have it, the Lexmoto Assault 125 EFi, about 10.7 horsepower I think it is, with 9 Newton meters of torque. Top speed is claimed about 63 miles an hour, so not a fast machine, but ideal commuter bike, ideal for learning on. Now, these Chinese manufacturers really have upped their game. You know, about 20 years ago, bikes like this were, well, they were rubbish. They would rust and deteriorate in front of your eyes, but now these Chinese manufacturers really have improved in their quality and in their specifications as well. Right, so let's get back on this this machine here and make my way home now and drop this off at the owner's house. Let's make our way back now. So that is it for today's video. Thank you all so very much for watching. And if you've liked this video, then maybe like to give us those thumbs up and subscribe. So until next time, please, everybody out there in YouTube land, stay safe, and I'll see you all again soon in the next video. Take care now.